Hey guys, episode 15, five, five, and five. Today we have Miss Megan Redzia, who is the executive vice president of 3EPR. I'm going to challenge you today, Meg, because you are a, a entrepreneur. I know you don't think of yourself that way, but um, Meg has been a consistent influence in my life over the last 3 years. Has been you guys will get to meet her today. An awesome personality, an amazing human, but a very extremely intelligent um, young woman who is a part of changing the landscape of sort of an older practice in the public relations world, but you guys are transforming it, and I love what you guys are doing. One of the biggest things for me that kind of where Meg and I kind of crossed paths at the beginning was about the way her and Patrick, her business partner, run the business. Very human, very present is the best way I can say it. Being there for clients and things like that. So, Meg, welcome to Homage. This is all about you today.
Thank you. First, that was extremely complimentary, and I don't know if all well deserved. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. And obviously feel the same. You have had a huge impact on me as I grew into kind of leading this business. So I am so excited to be here chatting with you.
Very cool. Very cool. So let's start today. Let's go the Goonies route. Let's go the chunk Goonies. Like, let's go back in time. So
all right,
Meg,
if we're gonna do 90s. I'm all in.
So okay, all right. Oh, well, okay, you can't lob that up there and then not me have a slam dunk on it. So go back in time, because Megan, as you can tell, we were just talking about gray hair, all the gray hair here and here.
It's here.
Yeah, but it's far less present there. So Meg is younger than me, and within her journey has grown very quickly into the role of leading a tremendously awesome group of people at 3E. When you graduated college, when you were coming up through the ranks, was PR always on your radar? Like, what began the journey?
Sure, yeah. So I actually was really passionate about journalism. Was how it started. So, like, editor of my school newspaper, and went to college. I went to Quinnipiac University for journalism, and that was 100% the path I was on. I was super excited about it. I was really into writing. I still love writing. And then I took an intro to PR course in college, and my professor was an adjunct who had an amazing career, and she just sparked a passion. I realized that there was different avenues where I could apply my interest in creative writing while doing some other really cool things. So I really quickly switched my major to public relations, and went down that path. So I did an internship with People Magazine in their PR department, and then got out of school and got a job for a boutique agency in Montclair, 100% PR. Crazy to say, I know you keep saying I'm younger, but like social media wasn't even a thing then, right? When it came to like brands. So it was strictly the PR route. And they were a small agency, but they had really big name clients. So I got to dive in firsthand. There was really not much of a learning curve. I was in meetings right off the bat, and becoming the lead on an account where at a bigger agency, I probably would have just played a support role. And so that gave me tremendous experience. That was super valuable. And then I ended up at 3E, which at the time was SGW Communications. And we were a department within the larger marketing agency, and then became our own LLC around 2011, 2012, just to kind of better brand 3EPR. There's obviously a difference in what traditional marketing is and what PR is, and to be able to kind of talk about that differently we established ourselves as our own company. So no, PR was not always the path. But the minute I started to learn, kind of the possibilities of what you could do with it from a creative perspective, there was no doubt that wasn't where I was headed.
That's a great point too, because one of the big things that I always, when I'm mentoring, I always tell, I sort of started my path too. And certainly I wasn't like, I was a history major, so I had no clue this is what I was going to be doing. Like
Right.
when people say, "Oh, you like, were you a marketing major?" Like I was the furthest thing. I was a history major. Um, when you say that though, getting thrown in, and I think this is a great point for any of the young people that are listening.
Mhm.
When you get the opportunity to go to an internship or early on in your career, I always tell people like, go to an agency, because no matter what you're doing, or if you end up on the client side, or if you end up owning your own company or whatever it is,
Yep.
the lessons you learn in an agency, one, because things move very quickly, you're always on point, for your client, and you have to be sort of at the leading edge of what's going on, because if you're in big trouble if your clients are telling you, dictating
Yeah.
what you should do and how you should do it. Um, Having that experience, I think, is really awesome. I was kind of the same way. Like I walked in there and I thought I knew everything after college, when I really didn't even know what media buying was. And my buyer, I was like, "Hey man, like, do we have go to college and the company pays for it?" He goes, "Dude, if you don't know this in 8 months, like go find something else to do." Like no
Yeah.
joke. And that's something that I think a lot of young people miss, is that they try to go in and kind of they blend into the wallpaper. Like
Hmm.
don't do that. Like what Meg's talking about with her experience and what I kind of had, like go and be uncomfortable. Go and challenge yourself, because ultimately when you get to a place where like Meg, where you're a partner, or me, like being an owner, when you're an owner of something, the challenges that you face are dramatically different. But a lot of those lessons that you learned in those days are applicable in different ways, but they're applicable, and they help you to lead, and they help you to to lift others up, and through that process. So
Yeah.
that's an awesome point with how let me get into this first, because one of the biggest things that I admire about the way that you are and the way that you handle yourself, and this is going back now, we've probably known each other 5-6 years,
Yeah.
is, and I know you said you're not young, but you're younger than me, so technically you're young. You have this tremendous amount of um, you command respect, and it's not in a way that's
Wow.
like, well, no, but when you come into a room, and let me frame it. So when I say command respect, there's vocal leaders, there's leaders that are followed by example. Um, Very early on in just speaking with you and the presence that you have, it's very mature for at the time, when I thought like you were 10 years younger than me, or whatever it is, 12 years younger. You walked into the room, and the first time we met, and it was like, all right, we're on a level. Like there's no difference. Like some people, there are people that are leaders, that are natural leaders, and I think that comes naturally to you because of your demeanor. And that's what I mean. It's not like being like loud and vocal and whatever, but
Right.
it's walking into a room, and probably the first time we were in a room together, there was people that had way more experience than the both of us did.
Sure.
And but people listen to both me and to you, and that was awesome to see. And I was like, wow, like this young lady is like 10 years younger than me, and people are like stopping what they're saying to listen to what you were saying. And I think that's one of the biggest admirations that I have in regards to you. Where does that demeanor come from? And the reason I'm going down this path is because I know Meg and I joke, because I eat like crap, and like Meg is like the most healthy person I've ever, met in my life. But it comes with discipline, and discipline comes with something that happened before. So being an athlete, or how did that develop? Because as we move forward in this talk, it takes a tremendous amount of discipline to lead a company, and that's where I want to get to. Like, where did that all start? Like, what were you doing in your younger in the 90s to bring yourself here?
Back to the 90s. Well, first, thank you. It is so humbling to hear you say that to me. I think, some things are just kind of who you are as a person, always, right? I mean, we can change ourselves and mold ourselves. And I think as leaders, we're always growing, but some of it is just kind of who you are. And so when I look back at myself like that, when you say discipline, I pretty much always had it, right? So my mom jokes today, especially as now I have my son and we kind of watch who he is as a person. My kindergarten report card said, Megan worries unnecessarily. Yeah. And I can remember my mom being like, blue, green, red, like, whoa, the color, what are you concerned about? It's kindergarten. But I think I always was just very structured and hard on myself and aspired to be the best that I could. And it wasn't at all pressure put on me by my parents or my family. It was just in me. I think people had to tell me to kind of like be a little bit more easy on myself. And I was an athlete, a year-round soccer player. And so that definitely, like you said, establishes that discipline and kind of helps you to realize, how you have to step up and be kind of part of the team and grow into a leader, right? If you want to be one of the best out there. But I think it just kind of was always ingrained in me. So, it took a little while when I got into my career. Of course, you're the young one and you have so much to learn to come out of kind of your box and speak up. But I think, I realized early on I had really was surrounded by some strong women at my first agency. And they kind of showed me the path to speak your mind and share your ideas. So I think I was also blessed in the combination of, okay, I have this discipline ingrained in me. I'm always going to try and work hard and be the best that I can be. But these women are also showing me that like my voice should be heard and can be heard if I do it in a respectful way.
That's an amazing point. It's actually one of the reasons, going back a few years and now where both of the companies are and kind of where they've evolved into, like DSM and 3E, having that strong presence of women leadership, I feel is extremely important. And I think that, like Dave and Patrick got that early on. So I would not sit there and be like, oh, I kind of fell into a great situation. Like, people saw things early on, that structure and that discipline, and that's why you are where you are today. So I know I'm going to say this and you're going to be like, whatever, dude. But like,
whatever.
But it's important to acknowledge it and understand it, because one of the other things that certainly is present now at DSM is having that strong female leadership along, with my voice. I think it's important for many, many reasons, for relatability purposes and the whole nine. Mm-hmm. But one of the greatest balancing acts that I think that I see from, like Zenka and Charlene and yourself is the balance of being the leader of a business and also a mom. So talk about that a little bit, because we were just joking before we got on the call that Megan was like, I can't believe I dropped my son off at kindergarten. What has that journey been like for you with the boys, and like balancing that out, and having a supportive husband? I say it here with my wife Samantha. It's the same thing. I mean, she works full time and it's insane the amount of responsibility. Having a husband like Ron that like balances that out. And so talk about that for some of the younger folks that might be listening, because In my opinion, humbly, it's with the greatest amount of respect, because I don't know how you guys do it. I mean, I literally, it's insane.
It is
So
insane. Some days more insane than others. But I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of the support system. When partnership was offered to me at 3E, my first son was really little. I don't even think he was a year old yet. So it was a decision Ron and I made together, right? Because I was going to go down this path where obviously schedules and things would be a little bit more demanding. And he was 100% behind me. And without that, I wouldn't be able to do it. And the support system goes beyond that, right? It takes a village. We have amazing neighbors and friends and family that enable me to do what I do. But I think what I've seen with 3E, and a lot of this was, the culture that Patrick and Dave had already established, where kind of family comes first. That was something that I give them tons of credit for. It's a little different. I think, DSM is very similar. And that's kind of one of the reasons we work so well together, is that culture. But they created that. And then I think me being a partner, as well as a young mom, has allowed me to kind of, further that as, people on our staff were having kids at the same time. So that relatability of someone who's the same age and is a young mom and is balancing all of the things has allowed us to kind of do that journey together, right? Of how do we create an environment where we, support our staff to be the best parents that they can be, male or female, while still killing it at work, and servicing our clients 150%, because that's obviously our model.
And in this day and age, going one step beyond that, like nobody ever thought we were going to hit like 100-year pandemic and all of these big companies. So when you say that, and the establishment of those sort of like values, like core values, however you want to say it, of like family. And I can remember when Zinka came from Condé Nast, and she's like, would you stop saying it? We're not family. And then as she began to like see things around her,
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, like I get it. It's still like a little foreign to me because I come from corporate.
Very different, right, between the big and the
but
medium-sized mentality.
Yes, absolutely. But it's one of those things that all of these companies now have had to scramble, and some still don't get it. Some still are like, we're going to just do business. And those companies are, unfortunately, in my opinion, they're going to go the way of the dodo, because people they expect more. And having that understanding before this ever happened, it was like, oh, okay. Like now people are trying to catch up to make it more, make it better for their employees, or make it more, family friendly, or, flex hours, like all this stuff.
Yeah.
I guess there's, to a certain degree, it's a little bit easier with a smaller business than it would be with a larger company, because precedents and stuff like that. But it's just so important. In your opinion, over the course of your journey, from going back to Quinnipiac, we're playing soccer, what is your most proud achievement? Like what is the one thing that stands out to you in Megan Redzia's career about like why you've had an impact? Like what's the legacy? And I know you're still building it, obviously, but like what's the legacy? Like what are you most proud of that you've been able to accomplish?
Yeah, I mean, 100% being offered the partnership at 3E. And I say that not just because, I achieved it and that's, oh, you became a partner. Great. I think it was, the fact that I was able to earn the trust of Patrick and Dave to put me in that position. You obviously know the history of the company and the two of them very well, but for those that don't, they created the company together essentially in the 80s. Patrick was Dave's first hire. And this was their baby. They grew it over the years and worked very closely together. And for Dave to retire and see me as part of the future of the company, and Patrick to see me as someone he wanted to do that with, and trust to be by his side throughout all of that, was huge to me. I think, like I said, I don't consider myself an entrepreneur, and I'm not saying it was all right place, right time. I certainly worked super hard to earn that trust and that seat at that table. But to see them, have that trust in me to take on the future of the company is something I'm absolutely proud of.
Yeah, it's shout out both to Mr. Shelba, wherever you're at. If you're on a golf course right now, where
probably likely, which he also earned. Yes.
He absolutely earned 30 some years in the business. I marvel at that. But what's as we're coming out of this crazy time, or we aren't, who knows at this point.
Oh, I hope we are.
What I mean, whatever, it's going to be here for a while, but I think everybody's starting to adjust a little bit better. What's coming up for 3E? What's coming up for Megan? Like, how are we going to transform the landscape moving forward?
Together, obviously.
Yeah,
right?
Obviously together, but what's coming down the pipe for those that are interested in what's going on in the PR world, and what's unique and new, and what's sort of your what gets your juices flowing every morning when you fire up the laptop?
Yeah, I mean, so a couple of things there. I think we're at a point now where we've really defined our core service areas. It took some time to decide, okay, we're really going to focus on what we're good at, what we're the best at, which is PR, social media, and content. And so, that's the kind of path that we're on, continuing with that mentality of let's do where we really shine. But I think, the future of all of those service areas is changing. People considered PR and social media kind of these single entity tactics, right? They kind of operated on their own, their PR and social media, whatever. And I think the pandemic has showed everybody that they need to be, and even though we've reinforced this a long time, it's like people are finally having the realization they need to be more ingrained with your business goals. Where are you trying to take your organization? And here's where public relations can get you there. It's not press releases, as some people like to think about it, right? There's a lot of components that go into it, and the role that can play in taking organizations where they need to be post-pandemic, or even navigating, what this uncertain time looks like, is where we want to be. We're seeing a lot more current clients and prospective clients come to us and say, here's where I stand, and here's the struggles that we're having. How can you help? Which is nice to see that people are starting to realize public relations can really play a role in overarching business goals. It's not kind of this tactic that just operates by itself. It has to be integrated with everything else.
It's on the other side of the coin. The reason I just clapped, on the other side of the coin, there's so much. I feel like the pandemic kind of had everything at a grinding halt for a while, but then it was almost like people's eyes were open to like the need for that 360, like overarching. It's not just this leads to this leads to this, and
right.
Having that ecosystem, so to speak, vitally important. I want to say, before we kind of wrap this up, it's amazing to see how you guys are taking, because again, 3 and DSM are kind of running parallel, that we're smaller on the grand scale, and that's done for purpose, for the the touch points of like having relationships and making sure that you're involved, like you and Patrick are involved in the work, I am involved in the work, and yet not stepping over, giving people the the license and the empowerment to actually go and do the work that they need to do and do it well, and not have a fear of of failure. Like let's push the envelope, let's do things that are not in the box, so to speak. And
Yeah.
so kudos to you guys. I want to say, before I turn this over to you to give you the last word, thank you for being you. Thank you for the opportunity to learn from you and to get to work together. I mean that, you know, and Meg, you are one of the most humble people I know. So I know you're like, dude, can you please stop?
Like sweating.
Like you are, you are a tremendous person, and you're a tremendous business person with a great mind and a great understanding of how to not only lead, but to do the work and to set an example for those that are coming behind you. And I think that more than anything, more than the work, more than the writing, more than the, you know, growing the profit line or whatever it is, I think setting the example, we lose as leaders if we don't set the example for the generation coming up behind us. And I think that you do that in spades. And so for that, other than just being a great person that I love to be with and hang out with, homage to you. And I really appreciate you coming on today, to take a little bit of time to speak, because I think stories like yours are paramount to business people. I don't care if you're a male, a female, like being at the right place at the right time, as you call it, is not why Dave and Patrick offered you the partnership. They offered you the partnership because of the trust that you built, because of the work that you produced, because of the person that you are. So for that, I will end it on my terms. Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to you. Tell us what's coming down the pike and where everybody can find you and what's going on with Megan. The last word is yours.
Well, first, thank you. I think, you know, I am so thankful that we met when we did. You know, you are obviously at a different place in your career, and I have been able to learn so much from you, and the entire team at DSM. The partnership between us has been something I'm super appreciative of. And so thank you for not only having me on, but for the relationship and the lessons that I've learned from you. I think, you know, like you said, I know it wasn't all right place, right time. And when it comes to kind of teaching that to the next generation, my advice would be, you know, you don't deserve it, you earn it. I think I see a lot of kids coming out of college assuming they already earned that seat at the table just by going to college and getting their degree. And a degree is great, but I think my mentality going into my career right off the bat was, I am going to do anything and everything to earn where I want to be. And some days that was cleaning out a supply closet, right? I mean, I did anything and everything. I truly mean that. Find gaps and holes and areas where you can offer help, to show that you have, you know, the dedication and determination to do it. So yes, more than just right place, right time. And where 3E is, you know, we're working with tons of companies in a variety of verticals, tons of you know, different approaches today, given everything going on. So a lot of concentration on thought leadership and speaking engagements, collaborating from a social media perspective with influencers and strategic partnerships, to try and kind of break through the clutter that is 2021 and the pandemic. So reach out. We're 3epr.com, and you can find me there.
And folks, I will tell you, they are boss. Absolutely boss. The whole team there, the whole lot. Patrick, I know I gave Dave a shout out. I'm giving you your shout out too. So
We try to be fun. We don't have as many cool, Gazmo gadgets and Gazmos and as you guys do in your office. There isn't like a 3E bar yet, but we're getting there.
that's that's only because I'm a big 12-year-old. Trust me.
It's a good thing to be. The last time you showed me like your gaming center, I was like, all right, 3E needs to like take this to a new level now. DSN has a gaming
who
office.
doesn't have a new mini Nintendo with like 300 original games?
That we have in our house. I should bring that to the office. We just recently introduced that to our son. And he thought it was like, he told our neighbor he has a Switch. I'm like, no, you have like the best games circa 1995. Let's get this straight.
That's amazing. I have a Switch.
Yeah.
No, it's not a Switch. It's way better. And he's like, why can't I see the guys? Like the 8-bit? Like, why can't I see Mario? Why does he look like a blob?
But come on. I mean, you can't get better than the way it was then.
You don't have to tell me. I play Mike Tyson's Punch Out until my eyeballs bled. Like that was it. Like until I beat Mike Tyson and The Legend of Zelda, until I beat that last crazy character. That was it. It took me months. We used to sit at games for months. Think about that.
Well, because we didn't have many options, right? I remember I had like Paperboy. Like that was it. Do you remember Paperboy?
I love Paperboy. It was Paperboy or go outside and play butts up with a tennis ball against the wall. Like, that was it. Like there was and like kill each other, kill the man with the ball. Like
but there's some of that I think is important that that's a focus of Ron and I ingraining in our kids, right? Like the elimination of some of the electronics and back to some of the basics. Our kids definitely spend probably way more time outside doing the stuff that we did in the 90s than most kids today.
I think it's fantastic. I agree. I mean, playing sports and just doing, as we enter like now with Luca with like football season and getting back, school tryouts for Olivia for volleyball or, Tessa doing Tessa things like
cutting her bangs,
cutting bangs and walking around the basement with a box on her head, or outside playing on the trampoline or what, it's just, it's great that you're doing that. And I will tell you that anybody who's watching this, you can learn a lot from Meg and the way that earning, and I just want to add one more thing to what you said, doing anything and everything, but also figure out a way to provide value.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if it's sweat equity, like actual sweat equity, or if it's, burning the midnight oil on a project or whatever, like provide value and you'll see it pay off like multiples of millions over the course of your career.
And even at the time, I don't think you really realize that it's being recognized, right? If you have the right mentality, you finished one thing that you think provides value and you're already on to the next, because you don't want to stop, right? You always want to try and improve. But in the meantime, the right people are recognizing it, even if you don't see that.
Oh, absolutely. And it goes to sort of an old saying, if you will, like give without expecting anything in return. And when you least expect it, you're going to it'll pay off multiple times. So
100%.
Meg, thank you so much for your time today.
Love you.
Very much appreciate it. Love you too. Be well.
You too.
Stay out of trouble. Safety third. And say hi to Ron for me and enjoy the weekend. It's going to be a great one out there, hopefully this weekend.
So excited.
And thank you again. Keep rocking and doing all the great work that you're doing.
Thank you. Same. We'll keep doing it together.
All right. Bye, Meg.
Bye.